What's up, everybody? This is the Properties and Pour-Overs podcast. My name is Adam Colburn, and today I have a very special guest, Miss April Elias. Hey, April.
Hey, Adam.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for taking some time out to talk with me. Just to get started, to introduce yourself to our listeners, can you tell me where you're currently living and what your business looks like right now?
Sure. So I currently live in Delaware and my business is on the newer side. So we started real estate investing on our own in 2019-ish, but
Okay.
with foreign property acquisition in Portugal. And then more formally, less than a year ago in a community, about less than a year ago.
Okay. Awesome. So Portugal, that's pretty uncommon, at least from the guys that I talk to normally. What drew you into that, especially like right to get started, like out of the country? That's really interesting.
So my brother was living in Southern California. He lived in the San Diego area for the past 20 plus years, and he's an investment banker and also like an interim CFO. Usually when
Okay.
a company has the initial funding of like $5 to $50 million, they'll call him in to set some things up, get some things going. And so one of his deals was moving him out of California and they wanted him to go to London. And he's a surfer. He said, "No way, like I need
Nice.
to be near the waves." And
Yeah.
he said, "I will go to Portugal for you." And so it's about 25 minutes north of Lisbon on the beach. So we purchased the lots of land that became available right next to him a couple years after he bought his house. And so it just worked out.
Yeah, that's super cool. And
Yeah.
so what are you guys planning on doing? Are you going to develop those lots or are you just kind of land banking and going to sell them if somebody approaches you? Like what's your exit strategy for those?
Well, two people a month come up and knock on his door trying to buy our lots of land. So it
Okay.
has me tempted. I am tempted,
Yeah,
but I actually would like to have a house there. So the
sure.
plan is it's kind of like a little mountaintop. So there's three lots of land. We're just going to build three small houses, all very similar as far as the footprint.
Hmm.
And they're about, I don't know, 1,800 square feet. And the top lot, which has an ocean and a beach view, is going to be our house that we'll just keep personally. And then
Okay.
on the other side, it has a mountain view with a Moorish castle. And then
Wow.
one of them we're going to Airbnb. And then the other one, my brother is going to keep as part of his personal portfolio. So the hope is the Airbnb revenue will pay for both of our cost of builds. But if not, there's so much appreciation. We could, there's a lot of different things we could flex and do. So
Sure. That's
excited.
awesome. I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
As far as like the build out, are you guys like looking into doing that already? Or are you kind of building up a nest egg here with your investments in stateside to then start that project?
Yeah, so we had to acquire the land cash.
Okay.
So as a foreigner, we had to do that
Hmm.
because they don't finance foreigners to purchase land. Now, if there was a house on the land, we could have done that. So
Sure.
where we're at so far is the other day, after a year and a half of waiting for our permit, because Portugal is so backed up with
Yeah.
people migrating there because your euro goes a long way. It's very much like the California of Europe, and it just has a lot of great aspects and attractions. And
Sure.
so that created a lot of backlog. For instance, I had trouble getting a bank account if I didn't deposit a certain amount of money because their systems just couldn't accommodate the migration. And
Sure.
so we did get that permit after a year and a half. And so now we're able to apply for a normal construction loan, which we do qualify for as a foreigner. We have
Cool.
version of the Portuguese social security number. There's some things you have to go through, but we're
Yeah.
now in a spot to start, breaking ground and stuff.
That's super exciting. That's awesome. I can't wait to see what that looks like because that sounds like a perfect getaway spot. And then if you can have Airbnb income kind of fitting the bill for that for you, like that's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
exactly.
Okay, and so you have that going on in Portugal. What does your business look like stateside? Are you focusing on wholesaling? Are you fix and flipping? Like, what's the main strategy that you guys are focusing on here in the States?
So right now we have a fix and flip. Sorry, I'm like losing my voice, but
It's okay.
we just had we have a fix and flip property that we just acquired
Okay,
2 weeks ago, and actually Pace is our partner on that, which is exciting.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that is also a waterfront property. That was opportunistic. My mother-in-law's neighbor, like his mom passed away, and he's like, me and none of my siblings want this thing. We
Hmm.
have our own lives. He spends 9 months on a sailboat, so he goes, I don't want this house.
Yeah,
But Yeah, but it happened to be waterfront. And I'm like, we keep getting these waterfront opportunities, again, opportunistically, not intentionally. And so we got
Sure.
it at a really great discount. We got it at a deep discount. So we start the renovation soon. And the plan is to fix and flip it, but there's still additional opportunity for whoever buys it to create more value through an addition or finishing the walkout basement. We're not going too crazy. We're just doing kitchens, baths,
Sure. Your
and
standard run of the
like
mill
that.
flip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And what are you guys projecting to make on that deal?
Oh, triple digits. So yeah.
Amazing. Love
Yeah.
it. First
Yeah.
flip over
Yeah.
100K. That's amazing.
First flip. And so we had some help, underwriting, of course, because
Sure.
partnering with Pace, we have Bo and Molly. And so it was really exciting because just to have our numbers kind of make sense and
Yeah.
have them verify that was like an exciting aspect of it too.
Absolutely. Yeah, you get the check of approval from Bo and Molly to say that this deal actually pencils and we're willing to go in on it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially for your first one, I'm sure you're going to learn a ton from their team, kind of looking over your shoulder. Are you the one that's finding all of the crews to run the job, or is Pace's team kind of helping alongside you on that, like building out the crew?
Yeah, so we have all the crews. So we have a lot of friends who are accomplished fix and flippers in the
Okay,
area. And
great.
so we've aligned ourselves with one of our really good friends, his top guy, who's done a lot of fix and flips in Maryland. So this deal is in Maryland. It's just 30 minutes from my house. Delaware is so small. We border
Sure.
3 states.
Right.
And so, and then we have a sub 2 student who's doing the exterior. And so that's been exciting to like partner with other people in
Yeah.
sub 2 that are local to get some things done. And
Yeah.
so, we're excited to kick that process off.
I love it. That's really cool. And what do you guys think as far as timeline for that one?
So that one, we have a 12-week plan,
Okay.
including buffers, right?
Sure.
And the way that it pencils out, it seems like it'll get done sooner, but we're not being too optimistic on that front. We're
Yeah.
saying, let's give us extra time beyond the 12
Absolutely.
weeks just to
Yeah.
make sure, even though we've dug things up and like looked deep at the septic and we looked at like we tore things up to
Sure.
really investigate and inspect, but
Yeah.
just never know.
Oh
So
yeah, 100%. And Pace says it all the time too, is take whatever budget and timeline that you're thinking and just go ahead and double it
yeah,
because renovations never end on time. And I'm one to agree with that because we're in several flips right now and all of them are taking way longer, cost way more money. But luckily here in North Carolina, our market is still pretty hot. And so we're able to get out from under some of these deals. But it can get a little touch and go on some of them. So that's
yeah.
good to hear that you guys are being like optimistically conservative.
Mhm.
We'll call it that, right? And so that's awesome. And so as far as that flip you're doing here, that's the only one you got going on. Are you guys mainly looking for fix and flips? Are you looking to get into wholesaling? Like what is your main goal as you're growing your business here stateside?
Yeah, so what we were doing is we were starting with approaching pre-foreclosures. And
Okay,
so depending on the situation with that particular property, it could be a wholesale, it could be something we fix and flip, it could be something we buy and hold, just depending
sure.
on the circumstance of the home and
Yeah.
how we acquire it.
Hmm.
So we've started to add our kids to our team. So we have 5 kids. My husband and I have 5 kids, 4 boys and a girl. My youngest 2 boys are 18 and 20. So they're, just checking the box, going to college for business while
Right.
they learn real estate alongside of us. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
won't hold it against you if you don't finish that. I mean,
Right.
honestly, I'm okay with that.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I'm having them take some base courses in just business things like accounting and finance and marketing, just so they understand the framework of business structure. But they're going to
Absolutely.
learn a lot more with us. So we're
Sure.
excited to have them do that. So my 20-year-old is my CRM and my lead manager. He's actually calling pre-foreclosures with my husband
Love
and
it.
knocking doors. Like they were knocking doors today. And
Yeah.
what's great about doing it in Delaware is we've lived here our entire lives. And because
Hmm.
of the nature of the work that I do, I'm a headhunter and I've been a headhunter in this market, in the Philadelphia market for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So chances are, and then also really involved in the community through coaching. Like I was a cheerleading coach, my husband's a basketball and football coach. So we know a lot of people everywhere. So
Yeah.
we're really well networked. So when we
Sure.
pulled the pre-foreclosure list, the very first one I ever called, I already knew that person and she was already programmed in my phone from 10 years ago.
Wow.
Client of mine. It was
Yeah.
just so trippy. And we're like, well, we can really reach out to these people. and have some meaningful impact, really help them where they're at, whether it's, helping them refi out of their, not refi, but get a modification out of their
Hmm.
situation, or
Yeah,
some other solution, or acquire their property as a solution.
sure.
So because we had some success in that area, I have my
Hmm.
son, doing that and doing all the CRM things. And then my
Yeah.
18-year-old is just really good on social. So he's
Hmm.
my channel manager. So as soon as he gets all of his things aligned, he's going to be taking over my YouTube channel management and all social media stuff for
I
us.
love it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Full
I'm
family affair.
excited.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, and that's huge, that credibility piece. Like you said, you're so intertwined with this community that they know that you're not just some fly by night investor that's trying to steal somebody's property. Like we're really trying to bring value and help you find a real solution to your problem. And
Exactly.
like being able to come with a servant's heart, and they know that it's authentic because they know you, right? And that's huge,
Mhm.
and that's really impactful, and that goes a long way once you help one of those people out and actually have proof of concept that, like, oh no, April and her family are actually like helping us, even if it's not, you're not able to keep them in the home, but if you're able to at least keep them from going through a foreclosure and kind of wrecking their credit for the next 7 to 10 years, that's still a huge value that you're providing to the marketplace. And so that's really cool. And that, I'm sure that's going to be like a snowball effect for your business locally. That's awesome. And so I know you said that you're pretty new, like you're about a year in on the community side, right? Has there been any specific challenges that you guys have had to overcome as you've been getting started in the real estate space?
I would say just the diffused focus of there being so many opportunities, not knowing what to focus on, and not knowing what to pick as your lane.
Sure.
And so I will say it is helpful to like check everything out, right? To check things out,
Hmm.
um, and just to figure out exactly where you need to be, because if you don't learn a little bit about a lot of things, you can't really say, well, that's for me, or ignore things. It just kind of helps you prioritize and categorize.
Yeah.
We also have our daughter-in-law who is a top tier TC, so as soon as Pace launched
Awesome.
that, we had her do that as another
Hmm.
way to not only have another family member in the business, but also we realized that it was very valuable as a capability for our team.
Yeah.
And then it was also another way for us to see the business and deals end to end, to see
Sure.
why they fall through, because they often do fall through,
Yeah.
and reasons why, and how investors pivot. So I was really intrigued, not because I'm a TC, because that's not my jam, but
Right.
it certainly is my daughter-in-law's. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of value in just like learning through watching other people's deals end to end.
100%. Yeah. Well, and the TCs they've get their hands on 99% of the deals that come through the pipeline on the acquisition and the disposition side. So yeah, you're right. Like if something did kind of fall off the rails and you might be able to salvage it, you kind of get first crack at it because she's already looking at them. Yeah, that's really cool. Um, Definitely the kind of the shiny object syndrome. I hear that a lot. I dealt with that a lot when I first got started, but I think you're right. Like you do need to kind of pick a few at least to explore and see if it's something that you actually want to move forward with, because that is the kind of the double edged sword here in real estate, is that there are too many ways to make money, right? They all work, but you can't make them all work at once. And so kind of honing down to maybe 1 to 2 strategies, really focus on those super hard for 90 to 120 days, see if that's something that makes sense for you. Is it a viable option? And if not, then maybe that's when you pivot. But if you're trying to do all of them at once, you're just gonna kind of spin your wheels, right, and never really get traction. So that's cool. I love it. Before you guys were investors, I know that you mentioned you're in headhunting and you're doing cheerleading. What drew you guys to the investing side of real estate?
I would say it's because it's a more a more sustainable model than what we're
Hmm.
doing. So for
Sure.
the first 16 or so years of my career, I was agency side. So I
Okay.
was commission based, which is fine. I actually thrive in a commission based type of situation because the harder I work, the more I get paid.
Right.
And we also had our own agency for a while. And one of my clients hired me full time because they said, "Oh, we're reducing agency spend. We spend too much on your invoices, but we love you. We want you to join our team." So
Yeah.
I joined a huge global consulting firm because it still felt like it was an agency type vibe, but
Sure.
internally it was a big environment. And then I felt a little suffocated. Like I was a it's a great place. It still is a great place.
Yeah,
Um, because of not having the ability to like work more and make more. And
sure.
so I was recruited into my current role from a colleague at that client, and it felt a
Hmm.
little more entrepreneurial in spirit because right now I work for a private equity backed management consulting firm. So I work a lot in the management
Gotcha.
consulting space,
Yeah.
identifying talent, practice, like practice leads or partner level is a lot of what I do. And
Hmm.
so I was like, well, I can take these skills of engaging passive talent, having these huge conversations around compensation, which, you know, conversations around a home are of similar weight a lot of times
Yeah.
than your compensation conversation. So I'm
Right.
totally fine in those scenarios. And I was like, well, I'll just pivot those skills, apply it to real estate, really connect with these sellers and try to help them out because a lot of the psychology of the conversation, like unintentionally, I kind of figured it out. And then when I look back, I'm like, oh, that's actually a thing and it works.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's proven to be successful because once, you know, my son or my husband gets a potential seller on the phone, then they schedule them with me. And then I have that conversation and I do a bit of the discovery and
Yeah.
figuring out what's important to them, what would be an ideal outcome, and how we can help.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, so you've always been like a pseudo entrepreneur, but within, I guess they call it an entrepreneur, right? You
Yeah.
work for a company,
Yeah.
but you can kind of it's eat what you kill. The more you put in the effort, the more you can make, but you felt like you kind of were hitting a ceiling. And so you slowly elevated your way up to now there is no ceiling when you're working for yourself on this side, right? Through the investments. That's really cool. I know in past conversations we've talked about kind of one of your superpowers is like building out SOPs and the management side of a business. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So part of my job today is so some of it I consult a little bit in client environments whenever our consultants, you know, need that subject matter expertise in
Yeah.
recruiting and structuring recruiting teams and just talent acquisition in general, end to end, and how to streamline workflows and process. Now,
Hmm.
I do that I wouldn't say I do that for every type of team.
Sure.
My superpower is specifically within like an acquisitions type setting. So
Yeah.
whether it's like a people acquisitions or it seems like it would pivot nicely into a real estate acquisitions type setting. And
Hmm.
then also part of my role for the last 2+ years has been to integrate AI into our workflows and how we can leverage AI to enhance our current efforts, not to replace us, but to
Right.
enhance it
Yeah.
in a meaningful way. So we're just freed up to work more within our gifts and talents. We should be talking to more people, not scheduling interviews type of thing. And so, you know, it's just kind of all of that. And I've been able to go into different settings because often when I'm inside a client environment, I'm figuring out what's broken, what could easily be an opportunity for optimization to fix some things. And then I just help them tweak their flow and then similarly, I do that internally and I recruit globally. So it's the Americas, Dubai, Germany, India, and London.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
Mhm.
and so I think yeah, even niching down further into property acquisitions or finding people that can be a closer or an integrator for somebody else's business and stuff like that would be like cake for you because you're having to talk with all these different high level executives and their skill sets. That's super cool, and I think that that's a huge need for a lot of people as they're growing their businesses. Like somebody like myself, hyper visionary. Like I just want to talk to sellers and solve problems, but the back end stuff kind of gets thrown by the wayside. Like I've got 3 contracts I have to write tonight, and it's like I'm dreading it. I want to get the deals done, but it's like the paperwork side and finding somebody to do that. It's been on my to-do list forever. And so like
Mhm.
having somebody like you come in and kind of break down my business and optimize it to make it the most efficient as possible sounds like it'd be a huge value. And I'm sure that people are watching this could see the value for their business as well. So that's awesome. I love that. As far as moving forward in your business, are there anything specifically that you guys are kind of pushing towards? Is it doing more flips in the Delaware, Maryland areas? Um, I know obviously the Portugal project's amazing. But is there anything specifically that you guys are looking for, or are you trying to pivot into another model, like raising money, lending money? Like what are you guys planning on doing in the next, let's say, 24 to 36 months?
That's a great question because there's a couple things that I'm just trying to really hone in on. So capital raising is certainly very important that I found out. And I got a huge lesson in that this week. Great, lots of great lessons that I've learned. And I would say that is certainly something that I do want to like hone my skills in on capital raising because it's essential regardless of which avenue I pursue within real estate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's always going to be a complement to whatever I do or at whatever we do. And so the other thing we were looking to pivot to, and just we're in the exploratory phase of it and a bit in discovering what's actually possible. So my brother, who I mentioned earlier, one of his companies that he's has ownership in and he's the CFO of is a company called Fold'em, which is basically like little tiny homes that are collapsible and you can like open them up and 12 show up on a trailer. So we were thinking, we could get some communities set up really quickly. And right now, what they do, their target market is they are micro shelters or they're ones that in meaning like if there's a disaster or for an example Salt Lake City, Utah got rid of their tent city and put everyone in these homes. So they are
Gotcha.
tiny homes. You can stack them on top of each other. You can put them together. They can be on grid, off grid, but they're pivoting a little bit more into the residential space. So they look less like containers.
Sure.
Have a little bit more curb appeal, look more like a cottage. And so we're exploring how we could possibly deploy those just because of the access that we have to them and how quickly we can deploy them, whether it be an emergency or whether it be, just set up a community around, tiny home living to help solve the affordability. So we were like,
Yeah.
let's look at strategic partnerships through people who already own land and how can that make sense? So we're just, trying to figure that out and partnering with people who are in that space and kind of have the framework for it and seeing where we can add value and possibly deploy solutions like that around here.
Gotcha. I love it. Yeah, that's an awesome business model, and I don't think a lot of people are doing it. And so, at least in this capacity, right, with a product like that that you can throw up really easily, super affordable for the investor to purchase, but then so you can turn around and rent them out for affordable housing, because it's definitely a problem nationwide, the affordability issue. And so I love that. I think you make a huge impact in any community that you set up a community or a neighborhood like this.
Mhm.
So that's really awesome. I love that. Um, well, I guess as we wrap up here, if somebody's watching this, they wanted to reach out to you maybe for some consulting work, maybe they have a deal in your area. If it's like a wholesaler that has a deal that maybe you'd be interested in flipping, where should people reach out to you so they can connect?
So on all the socials, it's just at April Elias, my first and last name.
Okay, perfect.
Super
That's
easy.
awesome. Yeah, super easy. Well, April, it's been great to get to know you, hear your story a little bit. Thanks so much for taking some time to chat with me. And yeah, look forward to hearing all of the successes on the stuff that you guys are working on. Sounds really cool.
Thanks, Adam. It's been great.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.